Yesterday my husband and I sat down and watched the movie King Richard. It's one of those films that have been on the want to watch list for a long time, but to try and find 2.5 hours to sit down and watch a movie when you have 4 young children is not an easy task. In today's video I want to talk to you about that amazing movie. If you haven't watched it, here's a brief synopsis. It's an American biographical sports drama all about Venus and Serena Williams, and in particular the movie focuses on it from the point of view of their father Richard Williams, and the movie basically documents how he was able to basically come up with a master plan for them to become superstar tennis players, and how the plan he made at the beginning was well executed. And obviously fast forward to today, we all know that Venus and Serena Williams are 2 of the biggest tennis stars in the whole of history, so his master plan definitely worked. The movie's so deep and there's so many layers to it, and I took so many lessons away from it. About 10 minutes into watching the movie I was like, no, let me grab my phone and make some notes, because this will be a great YouTube video, because there's so many life lessons that we can take from that movie and apply to our lives and be able to transform our own financial futures. So if that sounds of interest to you, definitely stay tuned for today's video, because in today's video I'm going to be sharing with you 15 lessons that I took away from this movie King Richard. These are lessons that we can apply to our own lives, but also if you're a parent and you have children, a lot of these lessons can also be applied to raising children as well. The first key lesson I took away from that movie is the importance of writing down your plan. In the Bible it says write your vision and make it plain, and he literally did that for Venus and Serena. He had a plan for how they were going to become the world's most successful tennis players from before they were even born. So imagine this, he had a conversation with his wife and said, we're going to have 2 children and we're going to make those children tennis superstars. And I think that's the power of planning and being intentional. Like when you write things down and you have a plan for what you want to achieve and want to accomplish, you're more likely to see it into fruition, because it becomes more real because you've put it down on paper. So if you're one of those people that have plans and they're just in your head airy fairy and you're hoping that one day they will come to pass, write it down, write on a pen and paper, and you'll be surprised at how much more you're actually able to accomplish. Another key lesson that I took from that movie is that people are not always going to believe in your vision, and that's okay. That vision is yours and not theirs, so you just need to believe in it and understand it, and don't worry about whoever doesn't believe what it is you set out to accomplish, because oftentimes seeing is believing. Once people see your plan materialize, that's when they're going to start believing. In the movie it showed Richard taking the girls to so many different coaches, trying to pitch them to these coaches for them to coach them for free, in the hope that in the future when they make it successfully and big, they will get a percentage of the earnings from the girls. But they just needed to believe in the vision that he had for those girls, and so many great coaches in the movie had said no to him and just thought he was crazy and didn't believe that the girls were going to become these successful tennis players that Richard told them that they will become. Another key lesson that I took away from the movie is that you don't need to worry about what other people think of you. You just need to stay true to you. It's so important to stand on your convictions even if people don't like it or agree with it. In the movie, when Venus first got taken on by one of the coaches, she was playing in a lot of these youth tournaments or like under 12 tournaments, and basically the normal trajectory or the normal path to success in the tennis world is for you to basically play in all of these young tournaments until you become of age where you can now play in the adult league. So she was playing all these tournaments around the age of 12 and under and just smashing it, winning all the tournaments, winning all the trophies, doing so well with her tennis. And then her dad just said, okay, it's enough now. She's going to stop doing this and she's going to focus on her studies. The initial coach that they had thought that he was crazy and making a big mistake, and explaining to him that this isn't the path that people take to be successful in tennis. This is the blueprint, you need to follow it. He said, no, I've got my own blueprint, I created my plan, and this is how my girls are going to become successful tennis players. Anyway, that relationship ended. That coach was no longer working with the girls. He was then able to pitch the girls to another coach who saw the vision, who took them on. When the coach agreed to take them on, he then dropped it to the coach that, oh yeah, by the way, they're not playing in any tournaments until another 3 years time. That coach thought again he's crazy, but this time the coach still stuck with them and coached them during those 3 years. And during those 3 years he made the girls get their education and just kind of advance themselves academically. Both coaches thought that he was crazy and he was making a big mistake with the girls, and he was gonna kind of affect their future career prospects in tennis in a negative way. But he stayed true to his convictions and stuck to his plan, stuck to his guns, and made sure that his girls got their academics out of the way before they went back to play professional tennis. So don't worry what people have to say, don't worry what they think. They're gonna get it in the end when you achieve that success, and that's exactly what happened with the girls in the movie. And that actually leads on to another few great lessons that I took from that movie. I think to everything there is a season and there is a time for everything. Like, trust the timing of things for your lives. Like, sometimes you think, I want this to happen now, but actually now isn't the right time. There's a date in the future marked out for that to happen for you. And when you make something come to fruition before it's time, sometimes it often spoils the thing, whereas if you wait for the right time, that's when you can achieve the success. Another lesson that I took away from that movie is stay ready so you don't have to get ready. And that is what he did with his girls. Like I mentioned earlier, he stopped Venus playing competitively around the age of 12, but he didn't stop the tennis practice. She still spent years after that practicing, honing, mastering her craft in the quiet place while the cameras weren't watching, while people didn't know what she was doing. She was working in secret, getting better, getting stronger. She didn't just stop tennis altogether. No, she stayed focused and she still kept mastering her craft. And that's a lesson to us as well that we can take away. Stay ready so you don't have to get ready. Which leads on very nicely to another lesson, which is that you cannot skip the process. Venus and Serena Williams are arguably some of the best tennis players that have walked this earth, and they didn't get there overnight. It wasn't something they stumbled across. It wasn't something that landed on their lap. It took a lot of hard work and commitment and dedication over years and years to master their craft. They say it takes 20,000 to 25,000 hours to become a master of a craft, and they did the time. They did more than the time. In fact, they were working in all kinds of terrains, really putting in the effort, really going hard for their goal. So it's no wonder, it wasn't an accident that they got to the level of success that they did. It took intentionality, and that's something that we can take away from their lives too. You want success, but how bad do you want it? You want to be great at singing, but how much are you practicing? You want to be great at music, but how often are you playing an instrument? Like, we really need to challenge ourselves and not just watch what other people are doing and think, I want that, I want to be in that position. Are you prepared to make the sacrifice and put in the work and hours that it requires to achieve that same level of success? Another lesson I took away from that movie is that confidence comes from mastery. When you're really good at something, you become confident in that thing. When you're in that phase of learning and trying to build a new skill, it is so hard to be confident at that thing. And it makes sense. You haven't done it that many times. You haven't done it as often as somebody else. So you feel a bit inferior and you feel that you're not as good at them at doing this thing. So the more you practice, the more confident you will become at whatever skill you're trying to develop. Another lesson I took away from that movie is that nobody is coming to save you. I mean, granted, Jesus saves souls, but in terms of right now, here and now, nobody is coming to save you. You're not happy with your financial situation. You're not happy with where you are in life. Yes, you can pray, but if you're just praying and you're just sitting there waiting for something to happen, something probably isn't going to happen. You're praying amiss. What you want to do is be intentional about changing your situation and start putting in work. The Bible even says faith without works is dead. So you can't just be saying, yes, I'm trusting God to change my financial situation, when you're not doing anything about said financial situation. You can't skip the process. You can't skip the work. You need to apply yourself. As crazy as some of the critics say that Richard Williams was, nobody can begrudge his hustle or his work ethic. That man worked hard, he made his girls work hard, and hence they were able to reach heights of success that most of us can only imagine. So just imagine with me for a moment that Richard Williams never had that plan for the girls and never saw beyond his current situation and circumstances and just accepted his lot in life. There would be no Venus and Serena Williams. They would have never reached those heights of success, and that's because the dad realized that he had to take control of the family's financial future. So nobody is coming to change your financial situation for you. If you're sitting down watching this video, watching all the videos on YouTube thinking, how am I going to get out of my financial situation? How can I get better with money? How can I save more? How can I earn more? The reality is, it's not going to change unless you do something about it. Nothing's going to land in your lap. You need to be proactive. What skills do you currently have that you can monetize? What skills don't you have that you wish you had, which you can eventually monetize? What are you doing about learning those skills? Sitting down just consuming the content isn't going to change your financial situation. Taking action is what's going to make the difference. As crazy as people say he was very intentional. He studied the sport of tennis, wrote his game plan, and passionately pursued it. Another key lesson I took away from the movie is always remain humble no matter what level of success you reach. So there was a funny scene in the movie where Venus had won like loads and loads of tournaments, and she had won one of the final like big tournaments for under 12s, and she was in the car celebrating with her sisters, and her mum and dad were at the front driving, and Richard kept on turning around to the girls saying, stop bragging, be humble with it, be humble with it. And the girls just kept on bragging about, you know, how great Venus is and how not so well the other girls in the tournament did, and she just made it so easy for it was just too easy for her to like beat all the people in the tournament. And you could just see Richard get really irritated by this as they were driving home from the tournament. So eventually he just pulls up outside the shop, stops the car, and tells the girls to go inside the shop to go and buy him a drink. So the girls jump out the car all excited, still laughing and bantering about the fact that Venus was so great at tennis. They went in the shop, went to buy the drink. He literally just put his foot down on the pedal and drove off. And as he's driving, his wife is like, excuse me, go back and get my kids. You're not leaving my children here. But he's insistent that no, they're gonna walk home 3 miles back home and maybe think about their lives and think about how their attitude is towards winning. The mum, unfortunately, was not allowing him to teach them that lesson. She was like, no, you're gonna go back and get my children. So they're going back and forth having an argument in the car, and eventually the kids come out of the shop, realize that they've been left, and they're looking around and they notice the car just a few streets down. So then they run up to the car and get in. And then they're like, Dad, what was you doing? You left us. He's like, yep, you're lucky. Thank your mum, because if it wasn't for her, you guys would have walked all the way home. Because he wasn't allowed to teach the lesson that way, when he got home, he had another way of teaching them this lesson by making them watch the movie of Cinderella. And he was trying to glean from them, what do you see in Cinderella's life that made her the way she was? They weren't really getting it, so he had to spell it out for them. And basically it was that she was very humble, and he basically used that to share a lesson with them on humility. And it was such a good lesson that I guess all of us can learn and teach our children, if you have any, about the importance of staying humble. Yes, you can be successful in whatever career you choose or whatever path you take. Always remain humble, always have a good character, because you can be at the height of success today and be flat on your face tomorrow. Anything can happen. So just be humble and just appreciate whatever position you are at in life. Another great lesson from Richard in the movie was to never take no for an answer. This man was relentless when it came to getting what he wanted. He wasn't taking no from anybody. When he was getting turned down left, right and centre from the different coaches, he kept on trying to find another way to get a coach to pay attention to him. The coach that finally took her on for her preparation to go professional, I think in the movie it said that he had called the guy like 10 times and eventually he took his call. I mean, how many times have you wanted to do something and ask somebody for their help with it, or I don't know, pitch yourself to a brand or pitch yourself to a prospective employer, and they turned you down and that was it, you just accepted it and moved on to the next? No, he was not doing that. He wasn't taking that no for an answer. He just kept on knocking on those doors until somebody finally answered. And I guess that's a lesson for us to take away. Don't take no for an answer. Don't let a no get to you. Every no just gets you one step closer to that yes. So yes, you may get 10 no's, but that 11th no might just be the yes that you've been looking for. So just don't give up and quit when the first person tells you no, because oftentimes it really does pay to be persistent. And that leads on to the next point, which is where there's a will, there's always a way. If you have a will, you'll find your way. I've always preached that philosophy and I strongly believe it. And this movie was a perfect example of that way of thinking in practice, because that man had a will and he found a way. Another key lesson I took away from the movie is how much potential there is trapped inside of each and every one of us. I think so many of us barely scratch the surface when it comes to unlocking our full potential. We kind of just skate around life, going through the motions, doing what we can or doing what we know to do, without really realizing that there's so much more in us that we just need to bring to the forefront and bring to fruition. When I think about Venus and Serena in that movie, without their father's plan and determination, without him really challenging them to be great, will they have really reached the heights of success that they reached? I guess we'll never know. But I feel like having that person that is like on your back, stretching you, they stretch you beyond the limits that you put on yourself. And that leads on to the next thing that I took from the movie, and that is the importance of having someone believe in you. Because there's something about having someone really truly believe in you that makes you feel invincible. When I look at Venus Williams and the confidence that she had in those interviews at a young age, it was because she had her dad there by her side telling her she could do the impossible, telling her that she's the greatest in the world, telling her that nobody can play tennis the way she plays tennis and that she's going to be the greatest of all time. Having that level of belief in your child, or someone having that level of belief in you, it will make you reach the impossible height. Having their mum and dad believe they could do the impossible was like a self-fulfilling prophecy. Because they believed they could achieve it, they ended up achieving it. It reminds me of that quote where it says, whether you believe you can or you believe you can't, you're right. So regardless of whether you believe you have the potential or you don't believe you have the potential, I either way you're still right, because you kind of take steps in those directions. As a mother raising 4 boys in London, it's a challenging task to say the least, and I think watching that movie brought home the importance of being intentional when it comes to raising our children. Yes, I'm intentional already with raising my sons, but that movie really challenged me to raise the bar and really push and stretch myself when it comes to instilling the most that I can in these children. Some people may watch that movie or hear the life story of Venus and Serena Williams and think that, you know, they didn't get to choose their path in life and that their parents were too hard on them and they didn't get to just enjoy their childhood. Well, I look at their situation from the outside and think it worked out well for them. So while I'm not saying I'm going to be a dictator when it comes to the path that my sons take in life, what I am saying is that I'm going to be a lot more intentional when it comes to raising them. So the final lesson that I want to share from the movie that I took away was the importance of having a dream for your children and protecting it at all costs. Now, in the movie, one of the things that happened was Richard came across quite a lot of opposition when it came to his style of parenting. In the movie, there was a neighbour that was very nosy, that was all up in their business, basically reporting them to social services and the police, saying that they were driving the children too hard and putting too much pressure on the children, not allowing them to just be children. And he had to fight that opposition to ensure that he can stay true to the vision that he had for his kids. And when you think about him and his wife, they made so many sacrifices for the children to achieve the dream that they had for them. So the wife was working 2 jobs, he was working night shifts so that he could train them during the day. And it just goes to show it will take a lot of hard work and sacrifice to achieve the goals that you want to achieve in life, but it is not impossible. Let me know in the comment section below if you've watched this movie, what you thought of the movie. If you haven't watched it, have I convinced you to watch it? Let me know in the comment section below. And those of you that have watched the movie, let me know in the comment section below what you thought of it. Like, I loved it.